History records dramatic changes in the general mentality of men. When you study the Renaissance period, for example, you find an outburst of pride and sensuality that shook Christendom. This outburst gave rise to a single historical process that Catholic thinker Plinio Corrêa de Oliveira calls the Revolution. This revolution was a revolt against the very idea of restraint, driven by a desire for pleasure and novelty. The explosion of disordered appetites leads to the gradual abandonment of spiritual, moral, and cultural values. We can see this process unfold in 4 periods of history: the Protestant Revolution, the French Revolution, the Communist Revolution, and the Cultural Revolution. Professor Plinio Corrêa de Oliveira teaches that the revolution, with a capital R, is a united force that seeks to destroy the order that God created. And that order is Christian civilization. This unified force, inspired by Satan, has promoted the revolution through ideas, facts, and tendencies. The facts and the ideas are easy to perceive. Just read what the leaders of the French Revolution wrote, or Marx's Communist Manifesto. It's all spelled out. But the revolution and the tendencies is much more difficult to grasp. So it's good to visualize what is meant by the tendential revolution. The revolution loves to use culture to change people's mentalities. After they do this, the revolution and the ideas and facts are easy to implement. How do they do this? Mostly through the arts, music, architecture, fashions, and so-called Hollywood stars. Now let's take a look at the tendential revolution taking place over the centuries.
Deus vult!
The medieval man proclaims the battle cry of the First Crusade, Deus vult, God wills it. Look at this man. What are his goals in life? What does he exist for? Does he have a clear notion of where he is going? I think so. He is the medieval man. Although the Middle Ages weren't perfect, it was an age of great faith. Saints walked the streets. The grace of God converted the barbarians and brought forth Christian civilization. What do millions of people travel every year to Europe to see? Not modern art. They go to see castles and cathedrals, fruits of the Middle Ages. The center of this man's life is the Catholic Church. He has a love for the cross as well. He realizes that this life is a valley of tears and that he was made for something higher. His eyes are on heaven. If he is called to sacrifice his life for Christian civilization, he will, and he would do it with joy. He may take part in legitimate pleasures, but they are not the center of his life. Let's move on.
Vive le roi!
The man of the Ancien Regime says, Vive le roi, long live the king. Let's take a look at this man. What are his goals in life? What does he exist for? Does he have a clear notion of where he is going? I think so, but is not as clear as the medieval man. He is a man of the Ancien Regime. You see in this man more refinement than you do in the medieval man. Language during this time reached a height that had never been seen before. Courtesy and manners had greatly developed, which was good. But something very important began to decline. The man of the Ancien Regime loves the cross of our Lord less than the medieval man. His clothing is very beautiful, but the notion of life as a valley of tears has greatly diminished. His eyes are on the world more than that of the medieval man. His life is centered on life at the court. His goal is to have a good position. He loves beautiful things, which is fine. Beauty is necessary for our sanctification. Beautiful buildings, clothing, and of course, beautiful churches. But with this material progress, one must have an equal or greater spiritual progress. This man lacks that important element. Pleasures in this world, which can be legitimate, start to become the center of his life. I am not saying that there were not many good people during this period, even saints, but you see a bad tendency at work. Let's move on.
My stocks rose up 40 points today.
The man of Wall Street says, "My stock rose 40 points today." Let's take a look at this stockbroker. What are his goals in life? What does he exist for? Does he have a clear notion of his destiny? I think he has goals, but his final destiny is not clear. He is the man of Wall Street from the 50s. His clothing is no longer beautiful, but it's decent. He does not have the refinement of the ancien regime. By now, beauty is not so important, but he does have some distinction. The life of court has no meaning anymore. He lives in a democracy. His main goal in life is to make money and get ahead. Unfortunately, his eyes are even less on heaven than the previous man. What else do we notice? He lives in an agitated world. Everything he does has to be done quickly and immediately. Time is money. There's no more time for good manners and etiquette. He lives on the edge of his seat, waiting for the latest financial update. And because of this, he has to take medicine to calm his nerves down. The music he listens to reflects this spirit very well. The cross of our Lord Jesus Christ plays a small role in his life. Are his eyes fixed on his final destiny? Is he going to take his money with him when he dies? Life on this earth has become his final end. He does preserve some basic notions of civilization. He cares for his family, and he wants his children to have a good education and a decent life. Again, I would like to say that I'm not affirming that there were no good people in the 50s, but we can detect a bad tendency at work. Let's move on.
Just let me do my thing.
The young man of today says, "Just let me do my thing." Let's take a look at this young man. What are his goals in life? What does he exist for? Does he have a clear notion of where he is going? I think this young man doesn't really know what he exists for or what his final destiny is. He just wants to feel good and have fun. He is a person who lives entirely on impressions. He's spontaneous. Whatever he feels like doing at the moment, he does, including drugs. He is a slave of his passions, and he doesn't like to think. Prayer and reflection are a burden. His pace of life is hectic, and he wants everything now. Good manners, etiquette, patience, love of the cross, the faith, all play a very small role in his life. His clothing is neither beautiful nor decent. It just covers the body and is intentionally ripped. He follows the latest fashions without even thinking about it. He no longer knows exactly what civilization is. I think his eyes never even remotely gaze upon heaven. This life is his final end. So why not take advantage? Suffering to him is the greatest of all evils. Yet, for Catholics, suffering has meaning. I am not saying that there are no good people in today's world, but we can see a very bad tendency at work. Visually, we've seen a revolutionary process that is now very advanced. We should not be discouraged, but vigilant, prayerful, and hopeful. Professor Plinio Corrêa de Oliveira, gives us a battle plan in his book, Revolution and Counterrevolution. He states, if the revolution is disorder, the counter-revolution is the restoration of order. I would like to convoke you to this spiritual crusade to restore Christian civilization. It is not an easy battle, but one that has great merit in the eyes of God and is very, very urgent. Therefore, I would like to leave you with one final question. Which chair would you like to sit on? The choice is yours.